Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of that stuff. I have some hope that I want to present in this video. Just like last video, I know I've been sporadic. I'm super busy with my stuff until the end of this month. Or, well, actually, no, just for the next three weeks, and then I'll be back almost full swing, holidays and stuff like that. But, okay, this is what I have my eyes on right now, and I'm just trying to figure out if we are right now in the middle of this, or if we have one more flush down before this starts. And what is this? This is something to at least be hopeful about, because guys, it's the bear market. All right, we are in the bear market. It's not going to be as long of a bear market as you're thinking it's going to be if you're listening to everybody saying, all right, 2026, we're just going to go down, straight down the entire time. And then you buy at the end of 2026. I really, really don't think it's going to be that easy. But there's just certain things, forces, the powers that be, powers that play, that are just, they're going to, over the next several months, be pushing Bitcoin's price down before smart money is at all interested in buying. And so there's targets that I'm looking at, and targets that I'll be very eager to buy Bitcoin. But before we have any of that, we have something like this ahead of us. Okay, so what is this? Well, this is a 47% rise in the price of Bitcoin. Okay, when Bitcoin dominance was bottomed out. And so now we have something potentially, I think, that will come, that is maybe not a 47% rise in the price of Bitcoin, but a rise, could it be 30%, 35%, with Bitcoin dominance still heading lower? Happy end of QT day, by the way. That was yesterday for most of you watching this video. And so this is what I have my eyes set on right now, is this opportunity. I know that most of you don't want to hear this, right? You want to hear, no, we've bottomed out. Bitcoin is now going to hit new all-time highs. We're going to have alt season in the next few months, first quarter of 2026. That is most likely not happening. There's always a chance, but that's most likely not happening. So instead of that, can we at least have some hope for something like this to play itself out, so where we can make some gains off of some smaller plays and not YOLOing, not, to the moon, all of that? I have a decent level of excitement for a move like this ahead of us. This is 2022, by the way, if you didn't hear that from me already. This is 2022. And so what I'm looking at right now is what I would hope to be a similar move to what we saw in 2022. And you can see my projection. We're kind of following that projection right now, but what I'm wondering, could 80K have been the bottom before, the bottom ahead of that, let's call it a 30%, 35% move where altcoins would outperform? It could have been. I'm going to stick with my mindset right now that no, it's not, and that Bitcoin's going to go down to the mid 70s, and that's going to be an opportunity to make some gains, not just on Bitcoin, on altcoins as well. And yeah, you know what? During that time, it may be that you get pretty excited and thinking the bottom's in, and I will not have thought the bottom is in. I will not think that until we get to the 200-week moving average. But, there's an opportunity. And in particular, I am talking about there's an opportunity with altcoins. So today, I bought some Ethereum. All right. I bought some. I've been waiting for this. I was like, all right, Ethereum has broken a downtrend. It looks like it's, I shouldn't say it's broken a downtrend. It's broken a trend line, a downtrend line. It's looking like today is just a back test on this. Now, sure, we can continue to back test, and we can back test lower and lower, but I tend to think that this was a good opportunity for a scalp trade on Ethereum. And if Bitcoin does have one more flush out, that Bitcoin dominance will go down during that flush out, and Ethereum will hold up okay to where, maybe I will have not bought the exact bottom, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a loss, and I could sell that at any time. All right, full transparency. I bought the ETHA, the spot Ethereum ETF, and I sold a covered call on it. And so it may be that those shares get called away if that ETF price goes up to $22 or something like that. Binance is the same deal. Okay, Binance, it looks like, broken down. This happened last week, my video last week, and this looks like it may just be a back test. I think BNB is a good value right now. Now there's plenty of other ones that I don't think are. There could be a lower floor. I mean, XRP, there's a ton of liquidity built up for XRP. XRP has not broken that downtrend line, but it is still, as of right now at least, in some kind of higher low territory from its bottom on, when was that? Friday, November 21st. So there's XRP. Solana is not looking amazing, but again, Solana is at a very, very key level of support. And so is it possible that there's room for some upside now with Solana? I tend to think so. Now, not amazing news for our crypto. Silver, yikes. Okay, silver doesn't care about that 50-year resistance, 45-year resistance, although, you could say bearish divergence. There's definitely a bearish divergence playing itself out on the daily chart. But wow, okay, silver is not quite doing what I thought it was going to do. Gold is looking kind of bullish, not going to lie. I mean, it looks like it's broken through this lower high here. So is this a new uptrend for gold? It may be. I'm still not of a mindset that I'm all that interested in touching gold right now. But what does that mean for, I still tend to think that it's going to take a year to play itself out, but that gold will eventually make its way up to $10,000 within the next 10 years, maybe this decade even. So, okay, there are, I think, some reasons to be hopeful short term for some gains. We have to see with Bitcoin, how is this going to play itself out? Maybe Bitcoin is forming a higher low here, and that was a local bottom, and now we're in the higher low territory of that rally. I tend to think not, but we'll see. Is it possible? Well, all right, a few things on X here. So one post from this guy, Killa XBT, he opened a short on Bitcoin. I got to give him props for this. At what was that price? It was around $124,000. He opened a swing trade short. And so he's doing very well on that. I mean, obviously, Bitcoin's down to 86 and change, got as low as 80, and he'll be holding that for a decent amount of time. Now, he does think we're going to bottom out at the end of next year. We can forgive him for that. But here's kind of a timeline potentially for the next 9 days, 8 days from when you're watching this video. FOMC is in 9 days. The narrative that leads into this will be crucial in determining the direction that follows. We nailed the shorts, blah, 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 from 92 to 87K. Now I'm searching for the next high conviction pivot around the 10th through the 14th. FOMC is on the 10th. And a key thing to pay attention to is no matter what's happened over these last two FOMC meetings, is that was a local top or was close to a local top. So is it going to be the same thing this time around? It's entirely possible. Let me pull up the CME FedWatch tool. It's entirely possible that that will have been a local top for Bitcoin. There's an 87.6% chance that they are going to cut rates at the next FOMC meeting. If you remember the last FOMC meeting, which kind of kicked off some bearishness for us, Jerome Powell, they cut rates, 25 basis points, but Jerome Powell came in and expressed some hawkishness, a little bit of a hawkish tone, some doubt that they were as to whether or not they were going to cut rates at the December meeting. And my mindset the entire time was that yes, they are definitely going to cut rates, but how's that kind of hawkish tone going to affect the market? Well, it has affected the market for sure, especially crypto. So no, they're cutting rates. And so as the market is pricing in this new information that they will cut rates, and I'm telling you, they will cut rates, is it possible that we do see some kind of a move higher for Bitcoin over, what can we get up to? The mid 90s or something? I'm still of that mindset, the mid 90s for Bitcoin until the 10th or so. And then we flush down and have that final move down at the end of December. How about that? Before, around $76,000 or so, $76,000. And then we are able to start that short-term rally. We break this downtrend line, and Ethereum and Binance and some other cryptos outperform Bitcoin. That's how I'm playing this. Okay, so yes, I did buy some of that Ethereum ETF. That may just be for a scalp. This is where I'm going to do some swing trades. Okay, where I'm going to be holding I'm going to buy and hold for a few months, couple months. Let me just say a couple months. I do think that that's what's ahead of us. A move down to the 70s and then a move up to the 200-day moving average. You can see I have a projection kind of drawn here. Move up to the 200-day moving average. That could get up to $100,000 again. So 25% gain. Or is it 33%? Somebody who's better in math. You know what my issue right now. 25 or 33%, one of those two. All right, so ETH can outperform Bitcoin. ETH maybe would get back up to this golden pocket here, $3,500, something like that. BNB, I would assume that whatever the bottom is for BNB, that the best play would be to draw a fib from that. You could mini blow off top. I don't want to call it a blow off top. Let's say 792 is the bottom. Could BNB get up to $1,150? I wouldn't be surprised. So there's not a lot of other cryptos that I'm planning on touching. I do expect some of the larger ones to do pretty well during that time, but this is just for the larger caps. I'm not touching any of those small cap 100x gain ones. Now, I have expressed to you with a great deal of confidence that we're not bottoming out at the end of 2026, that we're going to bottom out actually much sooner than that, and my eyes are on the second quarter of 2026. So I want to find any kind of evidence to support that thesis. And I have something in mind here that I actually think, this is a good measure of where we are in this bear market, which I'm going to say again, it will be shorter and will not be as deep as previous bear markets. Okay, so where are we in this, which I am saying, yes, we are in a bear market. I don't believe that 80,000 was the bottom. Okay, so here's something here. Again, Brett, you got to follow him on X. A close below the 100-week EMA, green line, has always sent Bitcoin to the 200-week EMA. It has historically dumped to the 200-week very quickly after a weekly close below the 100-week. Before the comments start, yes, I know there are 6 days left before the weekly candle close, yada, yada. Yes, I know ETFs exist and this time is different, and that's true. Yes, I know we topped before the halving and this time is different. Yep. Yes, I know December 1st started QT and you think that means QE, which I had to correct somebody on X about that. No, the ending of QT does not mean QE. But here's some hopium actually, okay? Because the thing that's going to torture you about the bear market is more so how long it takes versus the dollar amount moves down. And so if I am right, and we're not talking about how long it takes being a year, then actually we're pretty close-ish, in comparison historically to the end of the bear market. Okay, so here's 2017. We hung around that 100-week EMA for a few months. I remember that was the peak of boredom. It was misery. It was a feeling like you're going to fall off a cliff. And then we fell off a cliff. And when was that? That was November of 2018, bottomed out in December of 2018. Bitcoin lost 50% of its value. Now that's not happening this time, not 50%, but a move from $6,000 down to $3,000, yeah. And that was the bottom. Okay, so think of where we are now, somewhat-ish in comparison to actually November of 2018. All right, here's 2021. When was this in 2021? It was June of 2021. We lost the 100-week EMA. Ended up bottoming out on November 10th of 2021. So that's 2022, excuse me, May, June of 2022 lost the 100-week EMA. So here's a scenario that could certainly play itself out. We lose the 100-week EMA, we come down pretty hard. I don't think that this is actually how it's going to play itself out, but a scenario like, here's the worst case scenario. We lose the 100-week EMA, and we're probably not going to lose it this week. We may not lose it anytime soon. On a weekly close, okay? And again, that could include a move down to 76K, but not a weekly close down to 76K, all right? So we're talking 6 months. 6 months from that time of losing on a weekly close the 100-week EMA was the bottom. Here we are, December of 2025, December 1st, December 2nd of 2025. 6 months puts us in May of bottoming out. And something like that is what I would expect when that time comes. But you can see 47% rally before losing the 100-week EMA. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, we're at the 100-week EMA, but I am expecting a rally, a short-term rally first. Another thing to keep in mind. So monthly MACD crossed red for the first time this bull run. Bulls on X keep saying we're in 2019. And I want to address that real quick in a second here. The same accounts previously claimed you can't use the 50-week EMA, the 50-week MA because there's not enough data, yet now cling to a single data point. All right, Brett, you're getting a little cocky. I'm just going to say that. But what do you think? Since 2014, MACD has turned red 5 times before now, 4 out of 5 times. It led to a 50% sell-off. In 2019, it marked the bottom. So is this 2019? Bulls say that this is 2019. All right, yeah, we had the COVID crash after that. This time is different. So am I saying this is 2019? I'm not saying this is 2019. But what I am saying is this time is different. This time, guys, is different than every other time the monthly MACD has turned bearish, has turned red, or at least on the MACD histogram. And why is it different? It's different because of interest rates. It's different because of liquidity, everything that we've been talking about on this channel for years. This time is different. So in the same way that I was a bear heading into 2025, I do not see a monthly MACD cross as something that is now going to initiate a year of red candles. I don't. We are trending upwards with global liquidity. We are trending upwards. We're trending downwards with interest rates. Okay, so unless there is some kind of great financial crisis or dot-com bust, the big thing that I want to eliminate from our mindsets is these big zones of red in the monthly MACD flipping bearish. That does not mean that I think we're in 2019. We could be in a 2019 scenario. It's similar in some regards because quantitative tightening ended in 2019, at that point in 2019. And here we are again in 2025, quantitative tightening has ended. But no, that's not my takeaway from this. My takeaway from this is the same thesis that I've had this entire time, which is that the bearish period of the monthly MACD turning red is not going to be as prolonged as it was in the past because everything had peaked at those times. Not just the price of Bitcoin and the price of altcoins, but everything. Liquidity peaked, rates bottomed out, and we were trending in the wrong direction at those times. This time is different. This time is different. But even if this time were not to be different, I mean, look at when did monthly MACD turn red? It turned red not at the peak, not even close to the peak. It turned red not too far from the bottom. All right. For 2022, it turned red pretty far from the bottom. I will grant you that. But that was after a massive injection of liquidity after the COVID crash that led to very high inflation. That led to, oh no, the Federal Reserve is going to raise rates a bunch. Okay. So just keep those things in mind. I hope I'm better than clear as mud this time. Again, my general thesis is that this is what's ahead of us. Something like this is in the near future. That we do have a little bit lower to go with Bitcoin, not as low to go with Ethereum or with BNB, things like that, but a little bit lower to go with Bitcoin. And then we have a decent rally ahead of us, a rejection at the 200-day moving average, and then a move down to the 200-week. Which is all, we did spend a decent amount of time under the 200-week moving average in 2022. I do not believe that we're going to spend nearly as much time below the 200-week moving average in 2026, but that is going to be where the bulls take control. So, and that would happen in the fourth quarter of this year. So anyway, that's it for me in this video. That's all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of your week, and I will certainly be seeing you in another video. Peace.